Good morning, and thank you for joining us for today's news conference. This morning, you'll hear from United States Attorney Leah Simonton, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives Public Information Officer Sarah Abel, and of course, Lubbock Chief of Police Seth Herman. They are joined today by Drug Enforcement Administration Resident Agent in Charge Nick Powell, Lubbock County Sheriff's Office Captain Anthony Castillo, Texas Department of Public Safety Regional Director Joe Longway, Lubbock County District Attorney Sunshine Stanek, and Homeland Security Investigations Resident Agent in Charge Tim Raymond. After opening remarks, we will take a few questions. As you know, DOJ policy mandates that we restrict our comments to facts contained in publicly filed court records. And of course, all defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. And with that, I'll turn it over to United States Attorney Simonton.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Leah Simonton, U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Texas. I'm delighted to be here in Lubbock, and I want to thank Chief Herman and his staff for hosting us in this new, beautiful Lubbock Police Headquarters. I'm also joined today by representatives from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, Dallas Field Division, the Lubbock Resident Agency, the Drug Enforcement Administration's Dallas Field Division Lubbock Residence Agency, the Lubbock County Sheriff's Office, the Texas Department of Public Safety, Homeland Security Investigations Dallas Field Office, and the Lubbock County Criminal District Attorney's Office. We're here today to announce the results of a Project Safe Neighborhoods takedown that relied on the cooperation of more than 36 agents and officers from local, state, and federal law enforcement, along with federal prosecutors from my office. Before I get to the specifics of the takedown, I want to speak a bit about Project Safe Neighborhoods, a long-standing DOJ initiative that's near and dear to my heart. PSN, as we call it, relies on the collective wisdom of law enforcement agencies, big and small, to identify, investigate, and prosecute our community's most significant drivers of violence. Instead of agencies working in silos, overlapping and competing, PSN brings federal and state law enforcement together to take action that will have an outsized impact. Through these partnerships, agencies share information about what parts of the community need the most attention and who's causing trouble in those communities. And they agree on how to best expend federal resources to make a big impact. As my boss, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland has said, these partnerships are the country's best hope to protect communities from violent crime. I'm proud to announce that these PSN partnerships were leveraged yesterday to execute a significant takedown in the Lubbock area. Specifically, we have already arrested 8 targets, half of whom are previously convicted felons, on drug and gun charges. And we expect more arrests to come. These defendants, who have long vexed the Lubbock area, are charged with a variety of federal crimes, from possessing a firearm as a convicted felon, to distributing methamphetamine, to conspiring to distribute fentanyl. Roughly 40 officers and agents participated in this takedown, including men and women from ATF, DEA, the Lubbock Police Department, the Lubbock County Sheriff's Office, the Texas Anti-Gang Center, Texas DPS, the Texas Tech Police Department, the Plainview Police Department, Homeland Security Investigations, and FBI Lubbock. Prosecutors from my office have been involved every step of the way, and they will get these cases over the finish line in federal court. And District Attorney Stanek's team is working hand in hand with us and law enforcement to ensure that criminals with guns receive the maximum possible punishment. Following the tenets of the DOJ's Project Safe Neighborhoods program, we targeted repeat offenders for this takedown who are known to be inciting crime here in Lubbock. These defendants have rap sheets for crimes like assault, robbery, controlled substances offenses, and deadly conduct. Following their arrests, they made their initial appearances in federal court yesterday afternoon. We are certainly looking forward to holding these defendants accountable in a court of law. But more importantly, we're hopeful that taking them off the streets will have a tangible effect on the people of Lubbock. We are proud to work together toward one goal, making the Lubbock area as safe as possible for all of its citizens. And with that, I'll turn it over to Sarah Abel from ATF.
Thank you, U.S. Attorney Simonton. Good morning, and thank you for spending your morning with us and allowing us to share some of our successes. I am Sarah Abel, the Public Information Officer for ATF out of Dallas. I'm here on behalf of our Special Agent in Charge, Jeff Boshek, who is unable to be here today. While I was preparing for this press conference, I was discussing the takedown with one of our special agents, and he used a word that stuck with me, menace or menacing, which means to frighten, alarm, or intimidate. What a textbook description for the 8 defendants that will no longer be plaguing the city's streets. Coordinated efforts such as this PSN takedown is a perfect example of how ATF, along with our local, state, and federal partners, can chip away at crime. 8 defendants, 12 firearms were seized, 1 with a machine gun conversion device installed, 2 of which were previously reported stolen, and 1 that had a NIBIN hit that indicated that it had been used in previous crime. Over 900 grams of methamphetamine, 2 ounces of cocaine, and more than 10 pounds of marijuana are now gone off the streets of Lubbock. I mentioned a couple of things that you might not be familiar with. Let me clarify. What is a machine gun conversion device? You might have also heard it called a switch. It's roughly a 4-inch piece of plastic that looks innocent, looks almost like a Lego. But this 4-inch piece of plastic can kill. It transforms a regular semi-automatic firearm into a fully automatic machine gun. That means that instead of having to pull the trigger every time to fire a shot, a shooter can pull the trigger just once, and the gun will continuously shoot until the magazine is emptied. The proliferation of these devices is affecting the safety of citizens and law enforcement officers, and not just in big cities like Dallas or Houston, but they are making their way to communities like yours and into the hands of criminals and juveniles. I also mentioned NIBIN. NIBIN is the National Integrated Ballistics Information Network, and it's the only national network that allows for the capture and comparison of ballistic evidence to aid in solving and preventing violent crime involving firearms. NIBIN takes 3D images of ballistic evidence, i.e. cartridge cases, and identifies possible matches from other violent crime scenes. It allows law enforcement to connect separate shooting incidents that may not have otherwise been connected with traditional methods alone. In other words, NIBIN houses and compares the fingerprints of ballistic evidence. During this takedown, one of the firearms seized had ballistic fingerprints that matched a previous crime scene, leading agents to believe that the cartridge cases were fired from the same weapon. 2 of the 12 firearms seized were previously reported as stolen. That's more than 10%. We are asking you, the public, to assist law enforcement by making it tougher for criminals to get their hands on firearms. We suggest removing firearms from vehicles at night, keeping firearms safely stored in your home, and double-checking that vehicle doors are locked if a firearm is inside. If you discover that a firearm has been stolen, please report it to your local law enforcement agency as soon as possible. Keeping a personal record of all firearm serial numbers is vital, as it will be necessary to provide that information to local law enforcement if ever a firearm is stolen. I am so proud of the work and the collaboration that our local, state, and federal law enforcement partners performed during this takedown. Today, we are sending a message loud and clear that we will continue to exercise our collective strength to ensure the safety and security of our neighborhoods and communities. Thank you to our partners present today and to those who have supported us in the past investigations. And finally, a thank you to the ATF agents and the task force officers on the ground, right here in Lubbock, and their tireless and relentless work to ensure the safety and security of our neighborhoods. I'll now turn it over to our partner, Lubbock Police Chief Seth Herman.
Excuse me. Thank you very much. Good morning. I'll be brief in my comments. I think that all the high points have already been touched upon by the other members of this outstanding group standing behind me. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank every member of the agencies represented here for their collaboration and their unwavering tenacity in devoting every asset they have to combating violent crime within our area throughout the Texas and throughout the United States. As with a lot of these investigations that culminate into a multi-person conspiracy dealing with violent crime that so often is connected with narcotics trafficking and obviously weapons possession, it started with allegations of drug trafficking here locally, an investigation that was conducted by 2 LPD narcotics unit investigators. Obviously, their efforts extended beyond the realms of Lubbock and included the collaborative efforts conducted by DPS, ATF, HSI, DEA, FBI, and a number of other agencies that may not be represented here today. And again, I would like to thank our Assistant U.S. Attorney's Office and our state prosecutors for their unwavering efforts and dedication to stopping violent crime within our community. And lastly, I'd like to touch upon one more point that's already been discussed. The Lubbock Police Department believes wholeheartedly in the Second Amendment. We encourage our citizens to defend themselves, their families, protect their homes and their property. But with that right comes an invaluable and necessary responsibility to ensure that those weapons are secured properly and not left in their vehicles at night. These weapons are falling into the hands of violent criminals daily and nightly simply because citizens are failing to properly secure their weapons in their residences. I call upon every member of this community to be diligent and responsible in their firearm ownership. Thank you very much.
With that, we'll open it up for any questions you may have.
Would someone please talk about the charges that have been filed against these individuals?
Absolutely. We have felon in possession charges and we have drug charges, and the drugs include methamphetamine, fentanyl, and cocaine. And if you're curious about the statutory minimums and maximums, felon in possession is one of our most powerful charges. And I want the felons in this community to know that we do not hesitate to take cases federal and to charge them federally if they have a gun and they're not supposed to. And the charge is up to 15 years in prison. And if they have prior convictions that qualify as violent crime convictions or as certain drug trafficking convictions, it can be up to life in prison. And the minimum can be 15 years in prison. So I'm glad that you asked that, because I want to emphasize that felons should not be possessing firearms in this community or anywhere in the Northern District of Texas. We actually have one of the most active firearms charging practices in the entire country. We're usually ranked within the top 5 and sometimes number 1 for the amount of firearms cases that are charged federally, and that includes a bulk of what we're charging in this takedown.
Can we know the names of the 8 defendants who were caught?
They are available in the public record. They had initial appearances yesterday, and I can get you the specific case number afterwards.
There will be a follow-up news release sent out after this news conference.
Yes.
As far as this operation goes, will we see more activity related to this specific incident?
We do expect that. Yes, we absolutely do expect that, and I can't speak in specifics right now, but yes, we do.
I believe it was Chief Herman who said that this investigation began because of the work of 2 investigators. How often do we see something like this turn into, lack of a better phrase, you get the big fish and you find all these?
The larger scale investigation, well, that's always the intent of any investigation of this nature, is to work our way up the chain to obviously the head of any organization that's distributing illicit narcotics and dealing with weapons. Obviously, the relationship between local law enforcement, our state counterparts, and our federal counterparts is paramount in that endeavor. So very often, this is exactly what transpires in the end result of an initial investigation that may be no more than a tip or information received from a confidential informant. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Okay, with that, we will end this news conference. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.